Shocking encounter while camping deep in the woods. In 1998, my family and I went on what was supposed to be another relaxing canoe camping trip in Aroostook County, Maine, just about as far north as you can get in the US. This was a real wilderness, pristine, untouched, and absolutely remote. No roads, no noise, no other people, just dense forest and a winding stream that fed into the St. John River. The routine was familiar. We'd get dropped off at a bridge over the stream and spend a few days canoeing and fishing our way down to where it met the river. We'd camp along the way, eat what we caught, and live off the land for a bit. This was our third time doing it, but that third trip would be our last, for a reason none of us will ever forget. On the second evening, just before dusk, we stopped at an island that split the stream. The water was low, and this stretch was too rocky to canoe through, so we planned to portage around it the next morning. We set up camp, got a fire going, and prepped some brook trout we'd caught earlier. My sister and I were near the stream tossing rocks when we heard our mom call out, urgently, not loud, but in a way that made us stop cold. We turned and saw why. Our dad was standing off to the side of our camp, talking to someone. The man next to him was short, maybe 5'3", with wild, unkempt hair and a thick beard. His clothes looked like something out of the 1700s, rough, like burlap sacks, crudely sewn together. He leaned on what looked like a musket, not a modern rifle, a musket, like it was a walking stick. His pack was homemade, lashed together from sticks and tied with rawhide or cord. Rolled up animal furs were strapped to the top. He looked just as shocked to see us as we were to see him. He started speaking, something that sounded like French but mangled. My mom, who speaks a little French, could only catch a word here or there. He kept pointing behind himself, then at us, then repeating something that sounded like tattoo sack, over and over. We had no idea what it meant. My mom asked him in French if he was from Quebec. Êtes-vous du Canada? He looked confused, tilted his head. No answer. He kept pointing at our tents and canoes. He was clearly curious, maybe even impressed. He kept touching the fabric of my dad's jacket, like he'd never seen anything like it. Something about him was off, not threatening, not ghostly, but off. My dad, who's usually calm in the face of anything, was tense. You could see it in how he stood. Eventually, he held his hand up in a "that's enough" kind of gesture, and motioned for the man to leave. My mom did the same, speaking gently, but firmly. And then he left. He waded through the stream, knee-high water, toward the opposite side of the island, and just vanished. Not like a magician's puff of smoke. I mean, we watched him the entire time, all four of us. The stream wasn't wide. There was nowhere to go. But the second he reached the trees, he was gone. No sound, no sight, just gone. That was when the fear really kicked in. My mom wanted to pack up and go immediately. My dad talked her down. Moving camp in the dark over slippery rocks with canoes and kids wasn't smart. He promised to stay up all night and keep watch. He had his pistol on him. That helped, at least a little. We huddled near the fire, talking through what we saw, trying to make sense of it. That's when my sister said something I hadn't noticed at the time. He wasn't wearing shoes, just like a bunch of leather wrapped around his feet. We didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, my dad searched the opposite side of the island. No footprints, no trail, no signs anyone had been there at all. To this day, we don't know who or what we saw. He wasn't a ghost. He was solid, physical. He tried to communicate. He was aware. But he didn't belong to any time or place we understood. We never did that trip again. Not because we didn't love the wilderness, but because something out there saw us, and we weren't supposed to see it back. The house that took them. Back in the late 90s, I supervised a trauma cleanup crew. We were the ones who came in after the worst moments of someone's life. Homicides, suicides, unattended deaths, fire fatalities. You name it. If something awful happened inside a home or building, we were called to clean it up. One job still sticks with me, not just because of what we saw, but because of what it felt like. Some scenes are just tragic. This one felt wrong. The dispatch that day was vague. Death inside home. That's all we had. No backstory, no warning. It was a single-family home on the outskirts of Los Angeles, a quiet, working-class neighborhood full of 1,950 S-era houses. Nothing about it looked unusual. Not run down, not creepy, just a typical street where families lived. When we pulled up, the garage door was open. An older woman sat inside smoking a cigarette. Her eyes were wide, jittery. She looked more displaced than grieving. I approached her gently, introduced myself, and told her we were there to help. She nodded but didn't say much. Her garage was set up like a makeshift living room. TV on a stand, a couch, clothes piled up. She wasn't staying inside the house anymore. She had moved her life into the garage. I asked if she could show me where the incident happened. She didn't move. She just pointed to a window at the front of the house. "I'm not going back in there," she said. "That's the room." I asked if there was anything she wanted us to recover from it. Photos, keepsakes, anything. She shook her head. "I don't care about anything in that house." What she said next made my skin crawl. She told me her son had killed himself in that room. Then she said, "There are evil spirits in that house." At first I gave the standard response, "I'm sorry for your loss." But she cut me off. "No, you don't understand. A year ago, my other son killed himself in that house. And before that, my husband." She looked me dead in the eye. "They were attacked. The demons got them. I've worked hundreds of these jobs. I've seen raw grief, denial, rage, madness. But this woman wasn't delusional. She was terrified, hollowed out by something she couldn't explain, and didn't want to understand." I asked if there was someone we could call. She said a friend or relative was coming to pick her up. I handed her our paperwork. She scribbled her name and said, "You can burn this place down for all I care." We suited up and went in. The room was small, walls painted a faded blue. It was messy. At the foot of the bed was a large pool of blood. Vomit stained the sheets. But what stopped us cold was the wall, covered in writing. It was written in blood. Dozens of words and phrases, scrawled frantically, most of them unreadable. Some didn't even look like English. Some looked older. Later, a neighbor filled in the missing pieces. The son had drunk acid, then slit his own throat. He died sitting on the bed. We removed the mattress, cut out the carpet, and sterilized the room. Standard procedure. The house didn't feel right. It felt heavy. The air was thick, like being trapped underground. The smell wasn't just decomposition, it was sour, clinging, unnatural. All of us felt it. The urge to get out was overwhelming. We finished the job, locked up. The woman was gone by then. I've seen a lot of sad homes, but this one felt like it had teeth, like it had fed on something and wasn't done yet. Before that day, I didn't put much stock in the idea of evil clinging to a place. After that day, I couldn't ignore the feeling that some houses don't just witness tragedy, they invite it in, and they keep it there. The hiker in white. My girlfriend and I are avid trail runners. It's become our ritual. Weekend getaways, early starts, remote trails. Nothing mystical about it. Just the two of us, nature, and the grind. But something happened this weekend that neither of us can explain. And it's been gnawing at me ever since. We found a trailhead about 2 hours northeast of Seattle. Remote, steep, The kind of place where cell service dies and you're completely alone. Perfect. We left early and got to the trailhead by 8 a.m. From the start, the trail was brutal. Tight switchbacks, heavy elevation. More hiking than running. It was quiet. Isolated. Maybe 90 minutes in, on a steep downhill stretch, we passed a lone hiker. Older woman, maybe late 60s or early 70s. She was dressed head to toe in white, modern hiking gear, nothing old-fashioned or weird. Pants, vest, hat, backpack. Even her hiking pole was white. We said hello as we passed. She didn't respond. Not uncommon. Some people don't feel like talking. We didn't think twice about it. We kept moving uphill for another 2 or 3 miles, fighting the incline. The trail eventually led us to a clearing, where it connected to an old forest road, one that clearly hadn't seen use in years. It was so overgrown we couldn't go much further. That's when we saw her again. Same white clothes, same single hiking pole, same woman, no doubt. She was ahead of us, standing in the middle of the clearing like she'd been waiting there. There were no forks in the trail, no alternate routes, no shortcuts. We're not talking about a leisurely nature walk. This was rugged, remote, and steep as hell. For her to have passed us unseen, she would have had to run through the forest and bushwhack her way ahead of us. And yet, here she was. Still, we were so focused on the trail that we didn't connect the dots right away. We moved toward the overgrown road, trying to see if we could push further, but it was too dense. We turned back. As we walked past her for the last time, she spoke. Seems like the trail ends here. That's it. Nothing creepy in her voice. Just a flat statement. But it echoed. Something about the way she said it didn't feel right. At the time, we brushed it off. We ran back the way we came. Same route. No forks. No other hikers. We expected to pass her again on the way down, but we never saw her. There's no way around this. Either we somehow missed an alternate route, and we didn't, or that woman in white defied time and terrain. I've run this through my head 100 times. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't. But I also don't believe a 70-year-old woman sprinted 5 miles uphill through dense forest and ended up ahead of us, twice, without making a sound. What the hell do we see? The man at the door. When I was younger, I shared a bedroom with my little sister. It was cramped, but comforting. I was used to having someone else nearby when I slept. But by the time I turned 10, I wanted my own space. I was growing up. When my older sister got married and moved out, I finally got my chance. Her room became mine. It felt like a small victory. A room of my own bed, my own posters, my own rules. But her old room had something strange about it. The door had a transparent window at the top, an odd feature for a bedroom. It used to be part of a renovated kitchen, I later found out. At first, I didn't think much of it. I even liked the idea of seeing who was outside the door. That changed. One stormy night when I was 12, I invited 2 of my cousins for a sleepover. One fell asleep early. The other and I stayed up, whispering scary stories and laughing at how childish we were being. The wind outside howled through the trees. Rain lashed against the windows. Thunder cracked above the house. Around 2 a.m., we heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming up the stairs. At first, we thought it might be my brother or maybe one of our parents. But when we turned to glance at the door, we froze. A tall man stood there, right in front of the transparent window. His face was blank, his body completely still. He just stood there, staring at us through the glass. He didn't blink. He didn't move. His eyes were fixed, hollow. Neither of us could move. We didn't breathe. Then, without turning, he began to pace, not forward or back, side to side, passing in front of the window, over and over like a broken record. His face never shifted. His steps were unnaturally smooth, like he was gliding. That's when we screamed. As soon as we did, the man broke into a sprint down the stairs. We heard every footfall, loud, fast, crashing down into the dark. My parents checked the house. My brother swore he hadn't been upstairs. No one found anything. No man. No trace. After that night, I couldn't sleep without the lights on. My room didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt watched. A year later, when I was 13, I was trying to fall asleep. The room was hot. I remember sweating, the air thick and still. I had my eyes closed. Then I heard footsteps again, but slower this time, cautious. They stopped right next to my bed. Then came the breathing. Deep, ragged, like someone struggling to keep quiet. I didn't open my eyes. I couldn't, but I felt him. I knew he was there, crouching next to my face, close enough that I could sense his eyes on me. He didn't touch me. He just breathed and watched. After what felt like hours, the air shifted. The presence faded. When I opened my eyes, I was alone. I slept with the light on for weeks. When my older sister visited, I told her everything. Her face went pale. Then she told me her own story. She was 15, alone in the house, when she saw the same man, standing in the hallway, watching her. He didn't speak, just stared. She told no one. When I brought it up to my family, I finally got answers. The room had been a kitchen before it was renovated. That explained the strange door. And, according to my aunt, an old tenant, someone who had lived there decades ago, had died in that kitchen. Since I was 13, I've heard breathing from my closet. It always starts after midnight. Slow, wheezing breaths, like someone hiding. I've tried to ignore it. I've never opened the closet while it was happening. Now I'm 14. I've taped cardboard over the door's glass, so I don't have to see anything outside. It helps. A little. But sometimes, when it's quiet and the wind is still, I hear footsteps again, or breathing. And I wonder if the man at the door ever really left, or if he's just waiting, watching. And if one night I open my eyes and he's no longer at the door, but inside the room. Glitterman pulled my leg. A few months ago, something happened that I still can't explain. I've tried, believe me. I've looked into sleep paralysis, hallucinations, dreams, stress, but nothing fits what I experienced that night. I live alone, way out in the countryside. No neighbors, just woods. Total quiet after sunset. Peaceful mostly, until it's not. It happened in the middle of the night. I woke up suddenly, not slowly or groggy, but like my body knew something was wrong. I was on my stomach when I felt it. Something grabbing my ankle. Tight. Solid. Real. Before I could react, my right leg lifted into the air, maybe 50 degrees off the bed, and I felt myself being pulled toward the foot of the mattress. Not slowly either. It had force behind it. I thought someone had broken in. A home invasion. My brain didn't even go to paranormal at first. I was just furious. I twisted, kicked, tried to pull my leg back, but every time I reached behind me to grab whatever it was, it yanked hard and straightened my leg again. Over and over. I couldn't get free until, suddenly, it let go. I rolled over expecting to see someone. A person. An intruder. I was ready to fight, but the room was empty. Or, it looked empty. Then I saw it. At the far end of my bed, next to the window, something was standing. Tall, black, hunched. It looked like it had to duck to fit under the ceiling. Its posture was strange, unnatural, like it was curious. Its head tilted slightly, watching me. Not menacing, not friendly either. Just studying. The thing wasn't just a shadow. It was blacker than shadow, like it was cut out of reality. There was no depth, no light, no texture. Just a pitch black void, shaped like a person. But then I saw it shimmer. Tiny pinpricks of light sparkled across its body, like glitter. Except it wasn't beautiful. It didn't glow. The shimmer was erratic, twitchy, like static, like thousands of silver fragments barely holding a shape. It shifted slightly, and the whole surface rippled with those blinking specks. We stared at each other for several seconds. I didn't move. Didn't either. Then it vanished. No fade, no movement, just gone. Since then, I've dug into every corner of the internet. Shadow people, sleep entities, folklore, quantum theories, hallucinations. And yeah, lots of people report shadow men or hat men or dark figures seen during sleep paralysis. But none of them mention glitter. None of them describe something physical enough to grab you. I wasn't paralyzed. I was awake. I fought it. I felt its hand. And I saw it shimmer in the dark like broken glass, catching invisible light. So, was it trying to scare me? Warn me? Was it testing what I do? I still sleep with the light on sometimes. I still wake up thinking I hear something by the window. I still wonder if one night it'll try again, but won't let go. If anyone else has seen something tall, black, glittering, something that can touch you, let me know. Because I'm not convinced this was a one-time visit. I am a security guard and I work in a morgue. Let me tell you what happened to me on one of the worst nights of my life. I'm a night shift security guard at a morgue. I work alone from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., handling everything from receiving deceased bodies, logging identification details, helping families through procedures, and making sure the facility stays secure. The entrance is about 20 meters from the guard booth. Every night at 11 p.m., once the medical staff leaves, I lock the main door. After that, it's just me and whatever's in there. A few months ago, an ambulance arrived just before sunset. 2 paramedics brought in a body. I immediately knew something was off. The driver could barely stand straight. He was pale, trembling, sweat soaking through his shirt, and his voice broke when he spoke. His partner looked worse, dizzy, quiet, almost like he wasn't fully there. I asked if they needed help, but they just said, "We just want to drop this body off and go home." I checked the records. Cause of death: strangulation followed by impalement. The victim had been found dumped in a lagoon, already deep into decomposition. I reviewed the camera feed for verification and instantly regretted it. The corpse was bloated, skin slipping off in sheets, the skull partially exposed, writhing with maggots. The stick used to impale him, from the anus to the shoulder, was still there, stiff and jagged. I swallowed my nausea, logged the data, and went back to my booth. Around 10 p.m., I noticed a foul smell wafting from the floor grate near the booth window. It wasn't unusual. Autopsy runoff sometimes leaves a stench, but this was worse. Thicker. It had a presence to it. I sprayed air freshener and tried to ignore it. Then I looked at the security feed. One of the outdoor cameras showed white smoke rising from that same grate, just for about 10 seconds. Thin, almost mist-like, but dense. I told myself it was just humidity reacting to a hot pipe. I wanted to believe that. At 11 p.m., I locked the front door. As soon as I turned back toward my booth, the door slammed shut behind me. No wind, no open windows. Just a violent crash that made my skin crawl. I froze. Everything inside me said, "Don't check the cameras." I ignored myself. When I sat down, my phone suddenly died, battery at 60% moments before. I reached for my laptop to distract myself. It took 20 minutes to boot, lagging like something was pulling it back. I finally gave in and looked at the cameras. I shouldn't have. One of the body trays in the cold chamber slid back, on its own, slowly, deep into the chamber, deeper than any staff would go. That area isn't even visible on the cameras. It just disappeared into shadow. Then the knocking started. Loud, sharp bangs on the security booth door. Over and over. Not random, not wind. It was intentional. I tried to tune it out. I turned off the cameras, turned on loud music, shut my eyes. Then came the knock on the window, not the door. The window, right next to me. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I couldn't. I was cold with fear, my pulse hammering through my ears. At exactly 4:15 a.m., the door to the guard booth creaked open by itself. I got up to close it, but my legs felt heavy, like someone was pushing back against me. The smell of rotting flesh flooded the room. I swear I could feel eyes on me, watching, waiting. Inside the booth, we keep a small crucifix, a rosary, and an image of the Virgin Mary. My instincts kicked in. I crossed myself, shut my eyes, and prayed hard. I started saying the Hail Mary, again and again. The same prayer often used in exorcisms. I didn't even realize I was crying until I tasted salt. The room went ice cold. The window slammed again, but the knocking stopped. So did the smell. And when I opened my eyes, the clock read 5 a.m. I reopened the facility for the morning staff and walked out as fast as I could without running. I didn't speak to anyone. Now, every time I start my shift, I say a prayer before entering, and another when I leave.